This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And then just make the girls earn that dollar bill.
Stroz, you know how a couple years ago Facebook added that feature where you could mark yourself safe from a disaster?
Yes.
Detroit Pistons players are going to need that feature, not for a disaster necessarily, but holy crap, Troy Weaver, what is going on? We've talked Pistons several times on this podcast. I can't remember the last time I was excited to talk Pistons. I love the Pistons, but I don't get excited to talk Pistons because, quite frankly, they've done next to nothing exciting in the last 20 years. 16 years. They won a championship in 2004. But 4 trades in the last,
less than 24 hours. Yeah.
It's not even 24, is it?
No,
that trade
not yet.
for Trevor Ariza came shortly before the draft. This is incredible. And we're going to get into some fun stuff today. I think we have a really fun show planned out. Honestly, Stroz, I don't even know entirely what our second Lions topic is. You had some questions that you had in mind. I'm kind of going to let you drive things, and we're going to get to that in about half an hour. 15 minutes from now, am I growing up? I don't know that I like it, but I feel like I'm growing up. But the Pistons are growing up. And Stroz, the way I described this to my dad, I've been on the phone with him a couple times the last few days. The Pistons are rebuilding. That's what we're watching.
Yep.
And they've got a long way to go. I had a friend who was suggesting because the Pistons are creating some cap space, adding a bunch of young pieces, maybe they can compete in the next few years. I don't think that that's the game plan. I remember doing an episode on this show, Stroz, where we were happy that the Pistons were starting to place a priority on volume young pieces. And that's what they're doing here. But they're going further than that. I thought trading Kennard for the 19th pick, initially I didn't like it because at the end of the day, the truth is in the NBA, Kennard is as good of a player as you're going to get with the 19th pick more often than not. But I realized this team, I don't want to say they're tanking. I don't think they're going to go Philadelphia 76ers. They're not going to try and trade Derrick Rose for nothing. But I think this team recognizes that players like Luke Kennard have no place here. This roster has basically, if you're not a part of the pool of players we hope can be something one day with this team, or somebody who we can trade for one of those guys or one of those assets, you don't have a place here. And unfortunately, I suspect Blake Griffin's probably going to have to play out 2 years here. I don't want to say you hope he gets hurt, but let's be real here. It might be the best thing that could happen to the team. I think Derrick Rose is very movable. And I think come deadline time, they're going to look to move him. I think this team is going to bottom out, at least to some extent. Again, no 76ers. I don't think they intend on trying to be the worst team in the league for 5 years. But I think they've signaled with this offseason, trading Kennard for a draft pick, trading a future draft pick for Trevor Ariza, who is a cap dump, and another draft pick. I think this is a team saying, we're going to get young pieces and we're going to play young pieces. And if that means we lose games, that means we lose games. I'm excited.
I'm not really sure what to add to everything you just said because
I'm monologuing a bit here, but I'm excited in a long time.
I'm just in lockstep with you. What we've seen is you have a general manager who stepped into a position, walked into the room and was like, oh, this is our roster? This isn't going to work.
Nope.
And he has a plan. He showed up with a game plan. It's not one of those things where he's trying to half-ass it on the fly. He's like, look, this is going to be painful. This is what we're going to do. It's going to take some time. And you're right. They are going to bottom out. Derrick Rose is going to be moved at the trade deadline, which is fantastic. It's going to give you another resource. It's going to give you another draft pick to add to this young nucleus. And that's what they're working with. They say, hey, this is our core. This is what we're building with. And what will happen is we're going to end up bottoming out. You're right. They're going to, I don't want to say tank, but they are going to do this the way the 76ers did it, where you're going to go in and you're not going to be very good. You're going to take losses and it's going to be okay because you're going to grow together. And then you're going to go find your superstar, hopefully.
What the Sixers did that was unprecedented in any sport is they went into seasons with the intention of losing.
Yes.
I don't believe, and when I can't think of a guy off the top of my head, but I know they traded pieces who were like, wait a second, what are you doing? That's a good young piece. Not good enough. They didn't want to win. I don't think that that's what the Pistons are doing here. And maybe they will, but if that's the case, you'd cut Blake Griffin. And I don't think that's going to happen.
And that's the thing. I don't think they're going to do like the 76ers where they're going to move good pieces around just so they could just suck really, really bad. I think it's what they're signaling is that it's going to be okay, and we are going to lose. We're going to take our lumps.
Prioritize the future, and if losses come with it, so be it.
Exactly. We have a game plan, and whether that game plan is 2, 3, or 4 years down the road, we have something set up where we're not gonna try to do this the easy way. We're not going to try to take shortcuts. It's going to be painful. This team isn't going to be good until they move on from Blake Griffin, and like you said, that could be 2 years from now. All right, so you're giving yourself a window.
It's worth noting expiring contracts are useful. So it's not out of the question after this year somebody has interest. In fact, the Pistons traded for Dwayne Dedmon in the last couple hours, and reports are they plan to move him. By the time we release this podcast, Dwayne Dedmon might not be a Piston. Why is that? Because his $13 million next year is not guaranteed. And so deals like that have a value. Especially, and look, the Pistons said, Troy Weaver said, we're looking to trade to get picks and take bad contracts. Pieces like a Blake Griffin on a 1-year deal or Dwayne Dedmon with 1 year left. Those are pieces that allow you to take on bad contracts. Mm-hmm. I think, and I want to say something here, because I'm sure we have listeners who aren't big basketball people, and I understand it's very, very hard to win in the NBA without superstars, and it's very hard to get superstars. The path to winning a championship in the NBA, if you're not in LA, is accumulating as many assets as you can and piecing it together until you can get a superstar. Mm-hmm. Superstars move in the NBA more than people want to make it sound like. Like, I understand that it was a unique situation, but Kawhi Leonard won a Toronto team a championship. They weren't superstar laden. Golden State, they didn't do it with trades. They did it through accumulating superstars in the draft. The teams that I would point to now heading in the right direction would be like a Memphis. They're not there yet, but Ja Morant looks like he might be something. Maybe when you start to accumulate other young pieces, guys are willing to come there. Maybe you can trade some of your other young pieces to get that. For the Pistons, it all becomes about trying to get a roster that appeals to the superstars, either for a trade or for a free agent. And trade's a lot easier. But the thing is, you were never going to get there trying to win constantly. It just wasn't going to happen. I understand, and I even, to some extent, vouch for the idea that when you can trade for a superstar, you do, a.k.a. Blake Griffin. He can't stay healthy. If Blake Griffin was always healthy, I would almost advocate the Pistons to try and go out and get another superstar, even if he wasn't happy to be here. Get a Russell Westbrook, who, by the way, I think Russell Westbrook and Blake Griffin's a terrible combo. Oh, yeah, but I get that strategy. I get it. But this is the more responsible long-term strategy. Mm-hmm.
And I this is the thing about the NBA. In the NBA, you really only need 2 guys to carry your team, right? It's one of those leagues where you don't need a ton of pieces to be really, really good. You can find 2 guys who just kind of vibe off each other.
Look at Milwaukee. You could argue one. I know they're disappointed this year, but if you got the right one, you could argue one is good enough if you build the right team around him.
Exactly. And I think that's what you're seeing here. I think that's what Troy Weaver's doing. And to give Troy Weaver credit, a guy that he drafted, a guy that he wanted in Russell Westbrook, said, hey, I want out. I want to leave Houston. He could have went and got him. He could have had to adjust the salary cap and try to work within the confines of that, but he didn't. So give him credit for not going out there and going after something that he's very familiar with. He said, no. We have a plan. We're going to stick to this plan, and we're going to go do this with young guys. And I loved the draft. I thought they did a very good job with this draft. Now, look, we don't know what these guys are going to be.
Right. I wanted Obi Toppin, who was there at 7, but I have a hard time. Like, this was considered a weak draft. There was no clear-cut top guy. I don't have a problem with the picks they made.
Yeah. It's just, you have what you see, though, is he has a formula for what he wants to do. And I think he did a really good job because you're starting to see what the game plan is, and you're starting to see what this franchise wants to become. And I love it. I think it's great. You should be excited if you're a Detroit Piston fan.
So that's what I was going to ask, actually, is we've had some cautious optimism, I would say, the last year about this team. And I think you just answered it. Has it crossed the threshold from cautious optimism to excitement? Not to say it's going to work, but I think there is now reason to be excited. Mm-hmm. Not cautiously optimistic, excited. We have been in a hell of a drought here in Detroit sports. And you know what I'm going to tell you right now is the Tigers had finally a few years ago decided to go all in on a rebuild. The Red Wings went out and got, their guy at GM, rebuild. The Pistons are finally, for the first time in legitimately 20 years, signaling rebuild. I am sure not all 3 of those will work. but there has not been a light at the end of the tunnel in Detroit sports in a long time. And I'm here to tell you, when you have three teams focused on actually rebuilding, not trying to fight their way into a playoff to extend a streak or to sell extra tickets or whatever to get smacked by the Cavs, I think we are officially on a path to somebody becoming relevant in Detroit sports again. And it doesn't mean it's going to be the Pistons, but seeing the Pistons added to the list of teams who can, it's a breath of fresh air. Like it
really is.
It feels like I'm excited that Stroz, let me put it this way. 5 years. That's a really long timeline. 5 years from now, would you say with confidence Detroit will have one team contending in their conference?
Yes, absolutely.
I would too.
Absolutely.
Would you have said that any of the last 3 or 4 years? Because I wouldn't.
No, not at all. And here's the thing. I think if a banner does get raised in this city, it will be at LCA, whether it be the Red Wings or whether it be the Pistons. It will probably come from one of those two organizations because of what they've done. Because they've come in with, like, again, I'm using the word game plan a lot today. They've come in with a game plan and they are executing it. Again, young talent. And we're building with this core, we're building with this nucleus, and we're trying to add draft picks so we can get more capital to grab more guys. It's a buckshot approach. You're basically shooting and trying to grab all these guys to bring them in because you're hoping that somebody pans out and somebody works. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. I'm excited.
I can't believe I'm saying this. We may get to talk about the Pistons more because, one, it doesn't look like this offseason's over. Mm-hmm. And two, Stroz, the regular season's just over a month away. When I say just over,
weird, man.
I mean it is a month and 3 days away. That is how close we are.
December 22nd it starts. That's crazy.
So we might get to see some of these young dudes.
So here's the thing, right? Last year's Pistons team was a struggle to watch. I probably, as a sports fan, took in maybe 15 games of theirs all season.
That's probably the ballpark for me too, 15, 20.
It wasn't a ton, and I'll be damned if I watched one whole game from start to end. You know what I'm saying? Just locked in, watching. What I can tell you is with this new regime, with things that are going on with this team, I'm going to be more dialed in on this team. And I'm expecting them to lose. I'm not expecting them to win. I'm watching for different things now. I'm watching for this team to develop. I'm watching for this team to be aggressive, to go out there and play. I want to see what these individual players do and what they bring to this team. I'm excited for this team, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to watch more Piston basketball, more than I watched last year, because last year this team was dead to me, and I was over it. I want to know, are you in the same boat? And for you, it's a little bit more difficult because you live in Houston now, but are you going to try to take in more Piston games to kind of see the projection of this team?
It's going to depend on which of these guys are playing for the Pistons. Because there's a world Stroz where some of these guys are playing in the G League, and I find myself more interested in watching that. But look, they drafted 3 guys. If 2 of them are playing in the NBA and playing minutes, yeah, I'm going to be very interested to watch those guys. And we're going to be in this world where I'm going to be rooting for them to lose, but I'm going to be rooting for really good games out of these young pieces. I think the early season, you might be a little disappointed because they're still going to have Derrick Rose out there. They're still going to have Blake Griffin out there. But over the course of the season, I would not be surprised if you start to see some more infusion of young talent.
Would you agree that by the time the trade deadline passes, it's going to be a completely different team than what you have at the beginning?
I think you might be overselling it a little bit. Dudes come in young and not ready in the NBA. I'm sure they're going to get some room to work through it, but I don't buy. You're not going to have 3 rookie starters this year. There's just no way. So it will look different. I think the more fair way to put it would be by the start of the following season, it will look like a totally different basketball team. And there's only 4 players currently on the roster from last year's team. So from last year to this year, it's going to look very different. And I think you're going to see that for the next couple of years. I think for the next few years, it will look wildly different every year. Now, we got to move on. I was excited to talk Pistons, and I think we're going to be doing more of it. Like I said, we're going to get to Lions. Stroz has some questions for me. Admittedly, I was flying home, so I only got to watch part of the game. But, Stroz, of the 2 of us, I think most people would actually say you're the kid on the podcast, right?
Oh, for sure.
Despite being way older than me, yes. Grandpa age compared to me.
I'm a child, but I'm like a 100-year-old child.
So I'm 27. I've never felt like an adult. And I think people in their early 20s kind of go through a phase where that like is weird to them. But to be honest, I think I've really embraced that. However, we have a problem. I'm realizing that at 27 years old, I'm starting to feel more and more like an adult, and I don't want to. I've embraced the being a child. I think that there is there's a joy to it. There's a thrill to it that I want to keep at 27. Maybe
so
that's
wait,
why
how did you realize this about yourself? Like, walk me through this. Like, all of a sudden, you just have this revelation.
You know, and I'm obviously going to share it, but so no particular reason. I hopped back on Tinder. It's a very on and off thing for me.
So hold on, I want to pause here.
Okay.
So you hop back on Tinder. So, how's it been?
I mean, I literally just hopped back on Tinder. I mean, like, I got my first match last night, and I was going to message her after the podcast.
Was she hot?
I mean, it's Tinder. Like, everybody looks better on Tinder than they do in real life. I've met 5 or 6 girls from these apps. I would say one of them was far more attractive than her pictures.
Ooh.
One of them was about equal, and the other 4 or 5 were, like, significantly less attractive.
So here's the thing. I've never used a dating app. And the one thing my girlfriend tells me that she feels bad for me because she basically took my option, my availability to possibly use a dating app away from me because dating apps weren't a thing before I got married. And then I got married. I don't
think you'd enjoy them in the way that maybe you would think you would or she would think you would. For guys, like, unless you're a, like, top of the top attractive dude, I'm not saying you would have had any fun with them, but it's a lot of work to get good matches.
So here's the thing: when you swipe right if you like them, or you swipe left
right,
if you like them.
Right if you
like them. So when you're swiping right, obviously you're a different type of dude. You're a little bit different than me. So it's not all looks for you, right?
No. So hold on. So here's the thing. When I first started, I've been using it now on and off for like 3 years. And when I first started, it was like read the profile, like go through everything and then decide. The problem is, I'm telling you, as a guy, for let's say every 100 right swipes I get, because that's how many you get in a 12-hour period. Once you swipe right 100 times, it stops you for 12 hours. For every 100 right swipes I get, I'm probably matching about 2 or 3 of them.
Okay. So
if you spend time going through these profiles, you can spend, I'm not kidding, easily an hour a match. Easily. It's flat out not worth my time, Stroz.
So what do you just like when you're taking a dump? Do you just sit there and you're just kind of like swiping right?
Honestly, it's less of that and it's more while I'm watching TV.
Okay.
And I'll do it quick. I won't look at more than 2 or 3 pictures. And then I'm from there, that's when I'm reading the profile.
I got you.
To see if it's worth messaging you or not.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm going to read you the profile of my 2 latest matches, both of which, to be honest with you, if I hadn't just hopped back on last night, I probably wouldn't message either of these 2 profiles.
So has this changed at all? Like as you're growing, in your growth, in Little B's growth to Big B, has this changed from how you used to do it?
Well, yeah. Early on, I would take my time reading stuff, and I just learned that it was wasting.
And now you're just kind of like, screw it.
It's a waste of time. It's just it's not worth it. So these are the 2 matches I currently have that I haven't messaged yet. First one, my psychiatrist thinks I'm funny. I appreciate that line. Not gonna lie. Let's stop pretending we're perfect people. I'm overweight, anxiety-ridden, deplorably pessimistic, and I hate traveling. Doesn't sound like the person for me to message, does it?
No.
I'm probably going to because she was the first match I've had since hopping back on, but the profile doesn't fit me very well. Deplorably pessimistic is not so much me. The other one,
yeah, so you're a pretty positive guy.
I've got to know your zodiac sign first. So I'm going to message them both after the podcast. But anyways,
neither one of these sound like you.
You know what? That girl I dated for a little bit months ago was super into zodiac stuff. And to be honest with you, her profile was similar in that I was like, she's really cute, but doesn't seem like she fits me. And then we met, and it was like really cool. So profiles are not always the best. Like that's why, to me, honestly, it's more about like getting the first date and seeing from there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the reason I started to realize, like, first of all, some of it is just like on its own. You start to feel more like an adult, more responsible. But my profile, and I think I've mentioned it on here before, I have 3 lines. First line, fan of moderately bad decisions, probably been on your dad's radio, just interesting enough for a second date.
I like your description of you.
I think it's simple, fun, accurate.
It's you. It's you.
But that's the problem. That first line, when I came up with that first line 3 years ago, fan of moderately bad decisions, I thought it was perfect to describe me. Shows you're a fan of like objectively bad decisions.
Oh, I love horrible decisions.
I'm not that
if it makes the story better, let's do it.
I'm not that guy, but I'm very supportive of moderately bad decisions that, you know, are going to be fun stories. And I'm realizing, you know, 24-year-old Brendan was all about the moderately bad decision. 27-year-old Brendan has a little bit more hesitation. And
I love how it's
like
moderately bad. It's so good. Moderately bad.
I had a girl ask me what moderately bad decisions were one time. I don't remember what example I gave her. It might have been like, I think my best example was when I went to Seattle. Like when I took a plane trip to Seattle, I booked it 6 weeks in advance. Absolutely didn't have the money to do it. I was like literally at the moment in medical debt. Like there was absolutely no case where I should be going to Seattle. I was like, I've been wanting to go to Seattle my whole life. We're gonna freaking do it. Like to me, that was moderately bad. Medical debt isn't the same as other debt.
So would you describe moderately bad as like just not being as responsible as you should be?
Yeah, but at the same time, the reason the word moderately is key is like these aren't things that are going to come back to affect your life like long term.
Okay.
You know, this is stuff that like, look, I should have been saving money and been more smart with my money, but medical debt doesn't have
that's not going to really impact you at all.
Right. Well, and specifically, it's not gonna grow. Yeah. Like, so it's not like I had a bunch of credit card debt or student loans.
Right.
Where if I had that, like, I wouldn't have supported that decision if I had student loans or credit card debt. But it was medical debt, so I supported them. But that being said, I don't think I would do that today. I think I've grown up, and I don't like that. I think those things are important.
This is the difference between me and you. So there's your moderately bad. Like, I'm going to go book a trip, and I've got some medical debt that I've got to take care of, but we're going to put that on the back burner. I'm over there like, yeah, so let's go to the strip club tonight with all the money I have in my bank account. And as I'm slipping the girl $1 in her G-string, I'm going to slip a finger someplace, too, and see if she likes it.
Have you done that?
What?
Gone to the strip club with all the money in your bank account?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
That is a lie.
Not a good idea. I mean, I haven't done it recently. Younger me, yes. So, like, again, I've grown up a little bit, but, you know, I still like going to the titty bar. It's great. It's a good time. I'm trying to convince my girlfriend to go. She says no. She says she's not really into those things. And the thing is, her brother's girlfriend is really into those things. And I'm like, see, we'll make it a whole family affair. It'd be great.
You know, Houston is known as one of the best cities in America for strip clubs.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Have you gone to any down there?
No, I've never been to a strip club.
Oh, what? You've never been to a strip club either?
No.
Bro.
I'm being completely honest here. It doesn't super appeal to me.
Oh. Like, you don't like seeing half-naked chicks with a decent-sized rack shaking them for $1?
I don't know that I have interest in paying money to see.
I mean, you don't have to pay money, but it's always fun to give them $1 in their G-string.
I don't know, man. I don't think that's for me.
I'm going to tell you this story about my dad. So, like, I got my dad convinced to go to a titty bar, and we went, and the old man had a great time. He had a blast. And we walk in there, we're sitting up at the stage, because that's arguably the best spot to go. Is just sit at the stage. You don't need a ton of cash. You just need a couple dollars. Like, take a 20 with you, have them break it, and then just make the girls earn that dollar bill. All right? So me and my old man go.
Just that sentence makes me feel gross.
Oh, it's great.
Seriously.
Dude. My old man pulls a $5 bill out, and he puts it on his face, and this chick comes over and grabs it with her titties, and he's like in heaven. And I'm looking at him like, what are you doing? He was like, she grabbed it with her boobs. And I was like, cool. I was like, you realize she would have done it for $1, Dad. What are you talking about? I'm like, she doesn't know how much that is. She's dancing. Just put $1 up there. She's going to go grab it with her boobs, and it's going to be great. You could have had that 5 times from 5 different chicks.
And that makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, it's great. I got to take you to
make her earn that $1.
Make her earn that $1, bro. Shake it for me. You ever think about the time I had a chick skeet on me while I was in the strip club?
No.
It was horrible.
I don't know that I want to hear that one.
Oh. It was horrible, dude. Not good.
So
you're growing
up. Like an adult? Do you feel like an adult?
No, I mean, no. No, I mean, like, so here's the thing. This is like, we were trying to put this topic together. I was like, I have like adult stress. Like, everybody has adult stress. Like, I worry about bills and I worry about money. But no, I'm like a gigantic child, and I love being a child. Like, I don't ever want to grow up. My whole thing, even when I was a kid, I was like, I always want to be Peter Pan. I don't ever want to grow up. I want to go to Never Never Land, and I just want to be young, and I want to have a good time. The problem is, a lot of times, those decisions that younger me made have costs that older me has to take care of now, and that's a problem.
Yeah, so no, I mean, like, I don't even mean the adult stresses, and I don't know. I feel myself slowing down, and I'm not ready to accept that. And I think part of that, Stroz, is that
wait till you hit 30.
You started in such a wild place, so you slowing down is still pretty wild. I'm like, no, I didn't start in a wild place. I just want to maintain my perfectly reasonably moderate place.
You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna hit 50, and then all of a sudden you're just gonna let your freak flag fly, and you're just gonna be like you're just gonna have the time of your life. Maybe. You're gonna go and bop around from like resort to resort, banging broads at different resorts, probably with your girlfriend or your wife, running just trains on chicks and having a good old time.
And maybe part of this, honestly, is just the pandemic, right? Like, I'm at home all the time. I'm not even going out to bars. But it really, what made me realize it was the Tinder line was when I came up with that Tinder line. I thought it was genius in that it was like, I thought it really described me, but I also thought it was fun. Like, it was genuine but fun. And I'm sitting here now like, I don't know if it really describes me anymore.
I mean, I don't know, man. What was the last crazy thing you really did?
Crazy thing
you really did. Like, thing where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Can we like pause the podcast? Like, I need 24 hours. Like, that's a crazy thing I did. Oh my God, Stroz, I'm dying here.
Maybe you are getting older then. Maybe that's it. Maybe you are getting older.
That girl that I dated for a little bit, that whole thing was very like, just fuck it. I'm going to.
You know what? I will agree with you because you've shared some of the details of that with me. I will agree with you on that because that was so not you.
At every stage, it was like, I don't know about this, but it's fun. I don't know about this, but it's fun. But like that for you would be so tame. But that's the closest thing I got. And that was back in July.
So I still think, here's the thing. You're not getting older, man. I just think the lens that you're viewing life through has changed a little bit.
Yes, it's changed a lot.
I think that is part of you just maybe maturing the experiences that you've kind of had.
That happened though.
But I don't think you're getting older though. I just think the way you're kind of seeing the world is a little bit different now.
All right, well,
it's okay.
I'm 100% seeing different now. The Detroit Lions. Stroz, I haven't even read how you put it in the rundown. You told me you had some thoughts and angles, and I'm going to trust you.
So my whole thing was I thought we could have a really interesting conversation because generally the way we watch the Lions is totally different. We see things from just opposite ends of the spectrum. And I thought this game was loaded, just jam-packed with a ton of stuff that was surprising, whether it be good, bad, maybe even a little bit indifferent. And I want to know what kind of caught your eye because out of this game, you can go anywhere. You can go with the fact that it took Matt Stafford 16 seconds to get this team down the field and in a position to kick a game-winning field goal. I don't want to say that was necessarily surprising, but the efficiency that he operated in was absolutely insane. The fact that Matt Prater in a down year, we've talked about him possibly being done after this year, kicking damn near 60-yard field goal.
So much.
Me too.
This MFer has had such a bad year. And you knew damn well when they trotted him out for a 59-yard game winner, ain't no way in the hell that thing's going to miss. And guess what? Not only did he make it, he probably had another 2 or 3 yards on that thing.
Oh, yeah, he had some more distance on it, too. Which is crazy because it's not been a good year for him. Or it could be the fact that a guy like Alex Smith, probably going to win Comeback Player of the Year, had a horrible leg injury roughly 2 years ago, comes out and damn near throws for 400 yards on this defense.
Career high, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's nuts. This man was on the shelf and they dusted him off. They brought him out there and he just lit your defense up.
Wasn't he drafted in like 2004?
I think so.
I think he was drafted in 2004.
I can look real quick if you want.
He just had a career day against you at 76 years old. I mean, that was predictable. The thing that stood out to me was DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift looked really good. It's hard for me, though, to like say that in an exciting way. It's like, I'm telling you, man, you can find really good running backs everywhere. James Robinson's been great, Phil Jacksonville. Yeah. Where did he get picked?
He was undrafted, wasn't he?
Oh, well, yeah, he was. Like, so it's hard for me to get excited. That being said, I did think DeAndre Swift looked really good. And that's what stood out the most. I'm going to be honest. The moment the Jaguar or the football team kicked a field goal to tie with that 16 seconds left, 21 seconds left, whatever it was, I went, crap. That is way too much time for staff. Timeouts.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
And by the way, that final drive, that final drive that Washington had, they were so bad. How in the world they managed to get into field goal range is beyond me. Alex Smith was throwing the football like John Kitna currently. Like, I don't understand. He was so bad on that drive. He threw for 400 yards, and he was missing guys left and right, and the Lions just penaltied their way down to the field goal range.
It was brutal. Like, if I think Desmond Trufant is still getting flags thrown on him, and he hasn't seen the field since Sunday. But don't worry, there's another one. Wait, hold on. Oh, there's another one for pass interference.
I'm telling you, if John Kitna was quarterback for Washington on that final drive, they might have scored a touchdown. And I don't mean prime John Kitna. I mean today's 60-year-old John Kitna. Like, it was unbelievable how bad Alex Smith missed everything on that drive. I kind of felt like both teams were throwing that game.
I was going to say, did it not feel like this was more of a case of which team wants to win this less?
It did. Alex Smith had a fine day against the Lions.
No, he had a really good
fine
day.
Second half. And I'm sitting here wondering what the hell's going on in this last drive.
He had a fantastic day. I mean, I was incredibly frustrated because I wanted them to lose. I was so excited. So they go up, and what were they up? I think at one point they were up 24-3. And I was like, okay, how are they going to blow this? And this team, yet again, damn near blows this game, but it's by the grace of Matt Stafford turning it on with 16 seconds left and willing this team down the field, which is crazy to me. The fact that you have to do this every single week to get wins. And we've talked about it. Washington's not a good football team. They're not.
Oh, so I didn't really know where this segment was going. Can I kind of get into that? Washington and the NFC as a whole?
Yeah, let's do it.
This NFC is so bad. Like, I got to be honest. I can't remember the last time Stroz, I'm going to pull up the list of NFL teams right now. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you how many teams I think in the NFC are propped up by an easy schedule. And it doesn't even make sense because at some point you'd go, hold on, these teams can't all suck, but I really think they do. Okay, in the NFC, obviously the NFC East is all trash.
It's so bad. I was looking at the stats today in the standings, and I was blown away. What is it? I think Philadelphia is leading the East right now, and they're like 3-5-1 or something like that.
Right.
They are garbage.
The Bears, literally everybody in the country is calling them the most fraud team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about the Vikings? You know, maybe they're the second best team in the NFC North. Do you realize the Vikings wins come against the Texans? Trash. The Lions? Trash. The Bears? Frauds. They do have a win against the Packers. And that kind of thing makes me go, wait, do the Packers suck? But anyways, the Bears suck. The Vikings suck. The Lions suck. The Falcons suck. The Panthers suck. The 49ers, okay. Like, I think the NFC is garbage. I think there's a case to be made, Stroz. I mean this. I think there's a case to be made that 7 of the top 10 teams in the NFL come from the AFC. And the reason I bring that up is because the Lions sit at 4-5 right now. And the truth is, Stroz, they're in a playoff race.
Yeah, I was going to mention that to you. Like, if they go to 16 teams, they could eke in there. Even if they stay with the 15 teams, they could still be playing football games for a playoff shot.
Right now, the Lions are 2 games out of a wild card spot.
Yeah.
They are tied with... They'd have to jump the Vikings, who they're tied with, the Bears, who they're a half game behind, the Seahawks, who they're 2 games behind, and the Rams, who they're 2 games behind. And keep in mind that NFC West is the opposite of the East. It's very good. It's the one division in the NFC that's impressive. They're going to eat each other alive. Like, I don't think the Lions are going to make the playoffs, but this NFC is unlike any NFC I can ever remember. Like, I think this Lions team should finish with the top 5 pick, and they won't. They won't because this NFC is so bad. I mean, it's a very frustrating year as a Lions fan.
This win this past week took this team from, I think, being able to, and I know you don't like playing the draft game, but I think they were drafting somewhere in the top 10, maybe 12, top 12, and now they're somewhere right around 16.
I was rooting against them because I expected them to beat the Vikings. So my whole root for them thing was I thought they would beat the Vikings, which meant they would have gone into this game, 4-4.
Yes.
That would have pushed them to 5-4 with that win. So I'm back in the root against them category. But I don't know, man. I really don't have anything specific to say about them. The thing that I noticed the most this week was DeAndre Swift, and I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to change things. I still don't think Stafford's been great this year. The NFC's trash. You're going to win some games that you shouldn't win. You're gonna beat the Texans.
I feel like this season is incredibly frustrating because this team is going to just kind of meddle around 500 all year. And depending on what the NFLPA and what the NFL decides to do with the playoffs, they're either going to just get in or they're just going to miss out. And what that means is you're going to get Matt Patricia and you're going to get Bob Quinn back here again for another year. And that's really unfortunate because
and let's be clear. I don't think this is like there are different types of 4 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 and 5s where you feel good about what you watched.
Yeah.
If you watch this 4 and 5 and even feel okay about it, you're a slappy.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of criticism as a slappy. I don't think I would this year, but I think in the past I have. This is a disgusting 4 and 5.
It's not good, and it's frustrating because you were rooting for losses, or a certain segment of the fan base was rooting for losses, me included, was rooting for losses because I didn't want any excuses for these guys to come back because I just don't see it getting better. I mean, I know that the running back position is a constant state of consternation for you. It just frustrates you to no end because you just pointed to a running back in Jacksonville that was an undrafted free agent, and he's the starting running back, and I think he's like in the top 5 in rushing all year long, and he's good. Yeah, you're right. He's good he's good on a very bad team. So let that sink in. Jacksonville is way worse than just about anything else going on in the NFC, right? Yeah, Jacksonville is 1-8 right now, way worse than anything else going on in the NFC, and they have a really good young running back that they just found on a scrap heap, and they were like, yeah, let's bring him in. He's going to be really good. And Detroit just blows through second-round picks trying to get running backs, and they finally figured it out, 8-9 games into the season, which is frustrating.
Now, I derailed the segment very backwards here.
No, it's fine. It's good.
Before we wrap it up, what was it that surprised you most? Because like you said, there was a lot to take away from the game.
I think what surprised me most was probably the performance by Alex Smith. And
oh, come on, man. Against this defense?
Well, that's the thing, right? So Alex Smith hasn't started a game in almost 2 years, and he came out there and he just lit you up. And you even talked about it. Like that last drive that they had, he wasn't very good. I think it's so surprising that this defense is as bad as it is, that a guy that they basically dusted off of the shelves, brought him out of the mothballs, and was like, hey, go out there and just kind of wing it a little bit and throw that ball around. He was able to light you up for damn near 400 yards and almost got a victory. This defense is so bad, and that is supposed to be the calling card of this coaching staff, at least this head coach. And it's not working.
I mean this with all sincerity.
Yes.
I have an issue with hyperbole, but I really mean this. Mm-hmm. There is not a quarterback on a roster in the NFL who would surprise me putting up a 400-yard day on the Lions. Really. Like, this secondary is as bad as it gets. This is the Michigan football secondary, but playing in Detroit. It is awful. And Okudah has had some significant growth. I don't know if it's the talent of the secondary or if it's the scheme of the secondary. And you know what? It's fair to criticize the pass rush doesn't get it done either. It's a 2-part problem. I don't even know that it's a talent issue. But at the end of the day, this defense can't stop the pass or the run or anything. I have no expectations. I can tell you, I mean this. I started Alex Smith in a fantasy league. I mean, I played several. Yes. I mean, it was a super flex league where you can start 2 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. But I started him in a league where you can start 2 quarterbacks. I fully expected him to have a great day, and I was right.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Teddy Bridgewater this week it looks like he's going to be sidelined because of a knee injury. Teddy Bridgewater last week put up 136 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. PJ Walker's probably going to start this game for Carolina this week. Does PJ Walker break 255 yards? You think so?
Absolutely.
All right. That'll be interesting.
The only way that they don't, and this is possible, is they lean too heavy on the running game. And they've done that at times. And PJ Walker can scramble as well. So that would be the only thing, but I would expect him to break 200. Can I have 255 all-purpose yards? So give me his running yards.
Let's do 275.
Let's say 300. He'll break 300 all-purpose yards.
Okay. Let's put a pin in this, and I want to come back to this next week. Let's take a look and see what happens. Because I agree with you. I think the secondary is absolute trash. I think it's garbage. But I was surprised that Alex Smith was able to do that.
I hesitate because I did say that, but I think a lot of that is scheme. I think a lot of that is your coach having no idea what to do. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, Desmond Trufant is no superstar, but he's not trash. And Jeff Okudah, according to Pro Football Focus, has actually been pretty damn good since about week 4. So I hesitate to say it's a talent issue. But anyways, yeah, we'll put a pin in it. It's been a good episode. Sorry we missed last week. I was out of town, had stuff going on, but back at it. Thanks for listening. You got something?
Before we go, do you want to tell why you were out of town and kind of the circumstances surrounding it? I guess I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to mention, but yeah, I was supposed to audition to possibly work with Jim. Mm-hmm. Which congratulations.
Well, I mean,
you deserve it. Like for real. Like you are such a talent. Obviously, but that was again, this is what happens. And look, I'm just going to bag on iHeart real quick because we both work there.
I work for iHeart.
You work there now. I used to work there.
I don't agree with anything Stroz is saying.
That's fine. This is all me. These opinions are all mine. So this has happened to you now twice. So at one point when we both worked there, you in Grand Rapids, me in Detroit, you're now in Houston. They basically told us hey, we're going to give you guys a show. We were excited. We had everything planned. We had all kinds of different stuff going with it. And they pulled the plug last second. And now you end up taking 4 days out of your week to fly in. And you fly in on your own dime. Nobody's paying for this. You are. And then last second, they end up pulling the plug on Jim, who Jim has done a fantastic job with that show. Drew and Jim did a great job with the show. Some of the best ratings books that company has ever seen for their time slot. They did a fantastic job. And some bean counter said, you know what? We're going to get rid of this because we need to save a couple dollars. So stupid. The
only thing I will say, Stroz, I get the frustration. Obviously, it affected me personally. At the end of the day, this pandemic has destroyed businesses all across the country. And we both know that this was no personal decision. Nobody wanted to fire Jim. Nobody wanted to screw me out of this opportunity. I get where you're coming from. Believe me, it sucked. Even if I didn't end up getting the job, I would have loved the opportunity to, do shows in Grand Rapids again. I miss it. That was a great time working there. And also, we were expecting a chance to do a weekend show. So I just want to make sure that's.
But still, it would have been a good time. It had been fun.
Absolutely. But I just want to make sure, I don't want my name attached to ripping iHeart because I don't think
that's all me. That's all me, not you.
And that's not totally fair because Entercom's fired people and stations all across the country have fired people. And so if there were 21 million people unemployed at one point in this pandemic, there have been so many people to lose jobs because of this, and it sucks. And I don't place that on any one company. I didn't expect to go there today, but I don't mind letting people know. I was really excited to hopefully get that chance, but we're still here. Stroz and I are still here, and we had that short hiatus at one point in time. There may be a world where that happens again, but we're going to try to continue to make the show happen as long as we can. And I don't see it happening for now, at least. That's going to do